Hopping on just a few seconds early here, just to make sure everything is set up. Okay, just making sure you guys can see me okay, and everything is clear. Okay, so I'll just give a few moments for people to jump on. I keep messing around with this camera here. Okay, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or something to let me know that I'm clear and sound. So if you can hear me okay, you can just put something in the chat box area to let me know. That'll be great. In a few moments for people to jump on. I am just like a little bit early. Just wanted to make sure everything was set up better than the last time as far as the sound goes. I know that was a little bit tough the last time with the sound. Let's try to make sure that that's good to go this time. I got one thumbs up. I guess that is okay that you can hear me. That's good. Okay. Just want to make sure I understand all this. 1 second. Just got a couple of polls to put in here. All right. Well, while we wait for people to join, I'm going to go ahead and just mute myself for just a second here. All right, so I've unmuted myself. It's 8 o'clock. All right, so first of all, can you guys hear me okay? If you can give me a thumbs up, let me know. And thank you guys for joining us from wherever you are coming in from. I see someone said from Turkey. Then welcome, welcome. Out there a poll that I want everybody to go ahead and take a chance to actually answer and see if you kind of got that answer right. So I know it's like one of those topics where it's a little touchy, but I like to touch on those type of topics as I do believe that this is a platform that we're going to take our time as a community to discuss and get through and just kind of see how things go with our community. Maybe this will inspire some to make some changes within their own hometowns. That's my goal here. Okay. And so if somebody can just put in the chat box area, let me know that you can hear me okay. Just want to be clear about that before I continue. Right. Good. Thank you. All right, so, well, I am Sheena, aka Mrs. Trouble, and I'm here as a firearm instructor. My company has provided training to many students over the years with different backgrounds. And so, on my day to day life as well as in work, I definitely experience talking to many people who are very interested in firearms. And then I experience talking to people who are not so interested in firearms. So, as counterfeit to those type of discussions, I do like to bring this platform for discussion for people to know, we have a safe place to be able to communicate with each other as a, and just kind of come up with some solutions. That's hopefully what the goal tonight is. It's just see if we can work through some differences on both sides of the fence. And it's okay if you are for or against firearms here. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just a matter of you expressing yourself and in a respectful way. So the thing is making sure that we maintain respect for each other the entire time. My moderators do a really great job of making sure that, we either delete some crazy messages or, we kick the person out. So we're going to maintain respect, even though we may have some differences. That's the biggest thing I want you guys to remember about this. Okay. You have to convince me to subscribe. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So when it comes to subscribing, I hope that you subscribe because you want to and that you enjoy the content. I make content that is the goal to empower women. However, there's many students that are men that actually subscribe. And so my content goal overall is to make sure that I provide safety and awareness to all and making sure that we as a community do things that we need to do all surrounding firearms to be safe and make sure that we keep our children safe. And so our discussion today is focused around AR-15 specifically. Okay. So the discussion today, the question is whether or not AR-15 should be banned in the United States. And so while I know I have people from other places, such as Turkey, I see someone coming from Turkey. I understand you may still have an opinion on what it is you believe should or should not be done. I don't know exactly from Turkey, like what happened, if you guys have firearms or not, but I'm pretty sure everyone has a certain opinion towards whether or not firearms or AR-15 should be banned or not. So let's see. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Congratulations. I'm looking at the message. Just wishing me good luck and looks like I'm pretty successful. So good, I will say. So I do feel blessed and I do appreciate each and every one of you guys joining on here. Without you guys, I definitely cannot be where I am today. So again, providing this type of content is all for you guys so that we can explore these topics together and actually make some changes in our community that's going to be beneficial to us all. So as we review about the AR-15, I have put out there a poll. Don't forget to go ahead and place what your answer is for that poll, whether or not the AR stands for uh, automatic rifle or armor light rifle. Please let me know because that's just a part of our conversation that we're going to have today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right on into this. As you guys know from my channel, or you may not know, I do focus on women empowerment a lot. But again, I have a lot of men that join us, and a lot of information is very beneficial, and a lot of information is actually for everyone. So as we explore the AR-15, I would like to help you guys understand that our key topics today is just to make sure that you guys get the questions that you have answered. If I can do that, I will do my best in doing that on the AR-15, and also give you guys a little bit of understanding about the AR-15. It gets a little bit of bad rep in the press, a lot, a lot. Our TVs and our media, our movies all this a certain, thought process and a certain light. And so I would like to argue or talk about both sides of the fence here. Although I do have my personal opinions, I'm going to try my best to keep that to a whole or to a minimum at least, because I don't want to sway anybody one way or another. I'm just simply here to have a conversation because guns are very political. And while I don't intend on this being political conversation, um, we kind of don't have too much of a choice because we're talking about banning something, which is a political decision. So that's one of those things. Okay. Okay. I'm pretty sure that you have important missions here. Okay. So much for wishing me so much success. I really appreciate that. All right. So the first thing, I'm going to skip that poll for now. I'm going to wait for some more people to join and hopefully they go ahead and answer that question. Um, Okay, and thank you so much for subscribing. And definitely look forward to you taking the course with us through August. I would really be honored to have you as a student. So that would be really great. And look forward to seeing you soon. All right, so the introduction to our AR conversation here. I'm just going to start right from the beginning for the U.S. at least. Um, why is this such a a tricky topic for us? The AR-15 is really one of those things that we talk about more so negatively than positive, I would say. And it has its reasons, and I do understand both sides. It's going to actually stop mass shootings or put it down to a minimum. So the goal is save lives. And then the other side of the fence, we have people who are fighting for our Second Amendment right because we feel, or lots of people feel, that if you take the AR-15, that's only one step away from you taking more and more and more. So thinking about those two different arguments there, I'm going to shed some light on information as we go through this. And again, if you guys have any questions or concerns, please jump in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer those questions as we go through. So, what is it you guys think our Second Amendment right in America is for? Like, why do you think that that exists? So, if you guys can go ahead and put that inside the comment section, what do you think is actually the thing that our Second Amendment is built around? So, as people put in comments about that, I'll skip down to our constitutional writings here. The Constitution is written so that it can protect us against, believe it or not, our government from any tyranny. Okay, so that's really just any kind of cruel or oppressive rule. Make sure that we stay away from being a dictatorship and more so into our democracy that we have currently. So our constitution was written on that to make sure that we can actually be able to do that as a people. Okay. And so thank you so much, Michael, for answering that question, as well as Bakami. I hope I said your name right. Protection. That's what our Second Amendment is about. That is correct. Definitely correct. But it also is a little bit more because it's also thinking about the time in which the Constitution was written. Um, Definitely after a period of time where we actually, as a people of the nation, had to fight against our own government. So it was designed to help with some checks and balances, which is what we need. And this is how we operate in the United States. We have our political parties, one believe in this way, another believe in that way. And so then we have checks and balances as far as all the political system. So no one person can really make a decision for the most part, and so that's what we do here. Another part of that checks and balances is us to be able to bear arms, to be able to protect ourselves, be able to protect our family, as you guys already said. Um, and so while we're not advocating and we don't advocate and we don't want anything to be said as far as overthrowing our government or anything nature. That's not what it's for. It's just simply the fact that we are our first line of defense. And in our history, there has been times where we had to be our first line of defense. And so we've given the right of their arms to be able to keep that going. So just putting it in perspective, if the police come to your rescue when you call them, great. But sometimes there are things you can do to protect yourself right away. If the government has made a law that protects you, even better. However, there are still times where people don't abide the law. And so we do have to still protect ourselves, because we are our first line of defense, right? So, and you're right, Heckler, we do need the AR in case stuff hits the fan. That's for sure. That's definitely sure. So, when it comes to that AR, it's given such of a thought process because we have these cases of mass shootings, and a lot of times people just kind of think automatically a mass shooting definitely was used, the AR was used. Okay. And so that's the perception that I want to definitely go down that rabbit hole today to explore a little bit more with you guys. All right. So again, our Constitution protects against tyranny, any, and also by way of making sure that we have federalism, separation of powers, and checks and balances. Okay. So that's why we have our second to keep us safe, and we be our first line of defense. Okay. All right, so many of you would just get your pum pums taken from you. Okay, valid statement said there. Okay, again, as we keep in respect, that's fine. That's your point. The thing is, it's a matter of knowing your rights and also knowing the law around those rights. So we do have to do our due diligence by if we decide to have firearms, regardless if we're concealed carrying or for home defense, we do have to that we know the laws around it and making sure that we follow those laws. So I understand that we still have many people that break those laws every day. Something simple as brandishing. You don't know what that is? Definitely pay attention. Brandishing is the number one thing people go to jail for. And so when it comes to brandishing, simply, taunting, showing someone that you have a firearm, and waving it around or just kind of patting to your side to say, hey, 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 or lifting up your shirt to show, hey, I have a firearm. So that is brandishing. It's like the number one thing people actually do have any charges in reference to. So when it comes to that, you guys have to do your part and make sure you know the law surrounding your firearms. And we will have a different discussion about that to hopefully keep you guys out of jail. Okay. All right. So when it comes to okay, so someone said, do we need those big guns really? Okay, I have a gun, but why would I need an army gun? Excellent, excellent question. All right, so when it comes to these big guns or ARs, first of all, poll out there. If you haven't answered that poll, please go ahead and answer that poll for me. I'm going to reveal shortly what the exact answer is, but I'm going to skip down from that answer right now because I just want to hold off on that till a couple more people join. But skip down to that to answer your question and your concern, um, Hill, is about why do you need a big gun? So the argument stands with that. So I understand one side of the fence, we're concerned about mass shootings or civilians being able to have in their hands something that we believe that the military has. Why would we need something like that, right? The other side of the fence is for home protection, for self protection, for hunting sports, shooters. So there's many reasons between to and from those answers as to why somebody would actually own a AR-15. Okay, and so it's just another way of being able to protect ourselves. If you've grown up in a city, you may not be able to understand that so much about the self-defense part because maybe you weren't raised to go hunting. Maybe you weren't raised in and have like a lot of land. You probably lived in an area where you have like close quarters to others. But if you lived in a country area or a rural area, then you probably have a lot of land. You might have grown up on the country. And so sometimes you do go hunting. Sometimes you do protect your property by way of a rifle because maybe there's a bear or some kind of animal that could be, in making your family feel unsafe. So sometimes it's not just against people that you need that AR-15 for. All right, so let me go back to these comments here. All right, so got guns better in the army. Okay, okay. And my husband is in the Marine. Okay. Well, thank you for your service, sir. I don't know if he's on or not, but tell him I said thank you for his service. He already a great dude. Because honestly, I couldn't do it. I learned at an early age that the military was not for me. They told me I had to take a quick shower. When they told me I had to eat real fast, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. No way. I can't do it. So those are spiritual moments. There's no way I'm giving up my spiritual moment of eating my lovely food that I love much. So yeah, that was an out for me. Okay, so who's going to take mine? It would never happen. Okay. All right. So yep, when it comes to the taking of the guns part. So thinking about reflecting back to 1994 when we had an actual ban there of rifles. The AR fell in that category. Okay, when we had that ban in 1994, they actually did something. Can't remember the exact term, but it's something like grandfathered in. Where whoever had a AR at that time, they were okay to keep it. They just couldn't have any new sales until the ban was over in 2004. So hopefully, if something like this does happen again where they ban it, hopefully that is the case. There was a situation in Australia. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Australia. I was doing a little research and I learned that Australia actually did something really extreme. They had the rifles and they took them forever from everybody. So yes, they still have firearms there, but they don't have the AR as far as civilians go. And it was because they were having a mass shooting situation. And of course, they had this mass shooting, I think it was 1997, that killed 37 people by way of a rifle. And so that was it for them. The people, majority of that it should be taken away. And so that's one of those things that we'd have to explore a bit more to see if it was actually helpful. Um, as far as statistical data goes, you could definitely look it up and see, but that is what they did there. Don't know if that's what they're trying to hear or not. So that's one of those things to see. All right. So, all right. And somebody already pledging their political party, and we respect all political views here. Okay, and you make your own bullet. I'm peaceful. I believe in the defense, not offense. Okay, okay, offense rather. All right, and then people took a shot at. Okay, so let's talk about that. About people taking a shot at the former president Trump. Let's talk about that. So that was also the use of an AR, and this is one of the reasons why people are arguing it should be banned because something like that actually took place. Well, again, playing the person on both sides of the story here, I could totally understand how that would be something as to a reason why we would say ban them, right? Looking at on the other side of the fence, one shoe does not fit all. And the thing is, when you take away like an AR-15 or anything of that matter, it doesn't take away from the criminal. If a person is a criminal or a person is just the bad guy, if you will, they're going to do that. They're not going to care what the law says. So I don't think it's really going to stop things to the degree like we think. Sometimes people think that, um, but only time will tell. So all right, let me see what else someone said. That's why we're gonna lose. Okay. Okay. All right, so okay, so Bubble Glock 45 said they can buy my 400 rifle for 1,000. I hear you. I hear you. And that's the thing that will probably be something on the table where they would do a buyback. And if they do, it's for a fraction of the cost. Though I doubt if there's going to be something major. Okay. So when it comes to that, those things up for discussion, whether or not people think that they want to do this or not. Some people say even if they will pay me, I still don't want to give up my rifles. So we in the United States have a unique position about our government. Okay. You know, you have one side of the fence that really believes in our government and our political parties, and then you have another side of the fence that, feels very heavily opposite about it in cases when I say government, I'm also talking about our police, all of that kind of goes in together. All these different agencies that are supposed to protect us as a people. Okay, but when we look at a case such as what happened a few days ago with a young lady who was a mother who called the police for some help, and ultimately ended up in her losing her life. Things like that is what makes us feel a little bit unsure, for those who have been brought up and seen those type of situations, it makes you feel like you definitely have to protect yourself because they won't, you know. But then there's other cases in which they do come to the rescue and they do their job and they do it well. So we can't put them all in one lump because there are good police officers out here. There is good politicians out here. And so we do have to try to kind of come together like today to discuss things and issues and come up with some solutions that's going to make our situation a little bit better. So that's one of the things that we definitely have to do. Okay, can't really focus so much on the negativity always, But going back to this particular issue at hand with these ARs, yes, it was true that an AR-15 was actually used to the attempted assassination just recently. So that's one of those things to definitely consider. But we do have to also remember that the AR-15 is the least likely firearm to be used in a lot of situations. But I do also want to point out that an AR was also used to end that threat. So when it came to defending the former President Trump on that assassination attempt, a rifle was also used to end that. So we needed at some point checks and balances, right? You have to have some kind of leverage there, okay? Okay, now Dear Me Renovation said, I'm the man in my house and I can't depend on no one to protect my family but me. Oh, very, I understand that. I understand that. You definitely have to do what you have to protect your family, and you are your first line of defense. And I really hope that the police or whoever else might come to the rescue to assist you with that so you don't feel alone. Um, at the end of the day, everybody's situation is different. Some will say, they won't ever call the police. And then so I'm calling the police right away. So that's one of those things to know. Okay, when the threat is over. So Mike Hector said, I'll call the cops when the threat is over. I hear you. I hear you. All right, so let's jump into the poll here. Let's see what was said. Let me see. Just out of, I'm gonna give a little bit more time on that. I only got a couple of votes here. I want to get a little bit more because I'm curious what you guys think already about the AR as far as what is the name. This is one of the controversial things that is said all the time. What does the AR and AR-15 actually mean? So please answer that poll if you haven't already. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about our Hmm. Our checks and balances. Okay. So going back to when the Constitution was created, of course, the government then had our military then had muskets. So did the people. Okay. And that's what we used to actually defend ourselves when we had to fight against each other for that right, for those things, right? Nowadays, things are a little bit different. Fast forward to 2024, we now have our AR-15s for the civilians, but our military has whew, machine guns, they have drones, they have nukes, they have all types of things. Okay. And so the Second Amendment people were just saying, hey, let us keep our AR. I mean, we're not asking for us to have explosives and things like that. We're asking for an AR. So it's one of those things, and checks and balances. We got to have some kind of, thing that's going to keep us safe and help us sleep better at night. Because honestly, you take the AR away, what's stopping someone from coming into your home, our government, and saying, okay, give it up. Go ahead and give up our firearms. So this is the concern here. Okay. And then what's stopping us from, stopping right there? Let's say that it's passed where the guns are banned, the ARs are banned. Let's say that bill is passed. What's stopping them from saying, okay, now we can actually admit that most of the cases of shootings does not happen by an AR. We can definitely admit this. Now let's see what else we can get. Let's see what else we can kind of mess with. Because we already have states right now that has like a 10-round magazine. We already have certain states that ban, certain type of guns and things. So those are things we can always, think about. This might be a good thing. This may not be a bad thing. All right, a couple more people go ahead and put in those polls, and I'm going to reveal the actual answers shortly. Okay, so go ahead and put something in that poll there for me. Okay, so yeah, there is a possibility that they're trying to take everything. I almost feel like that could be the direction, but who's to know? Who's to say? I mean, because these things are put in place to protect us, but sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So let's really look at the statistical data here. So just so you guys know, when I reviewed some statistical data, I was looking at MJ, which is Mother Jones data, and I also was looking at GVA, Gun Violence Archive. So Mother Jones data and Gun Violence Archive. Okay? They do have some differences of information. So that's one of the things you guys should know. And you can definitely check out those sites. They really have some great statistical data, some great articles on firearms. And then they have a lot of information there, okay? So let me go to this chat box area here for a second. All right. So James said they're trying to take everything plus laws in most places, no 30 round mags. Ah, that's true. That's true. Some places do have that. So it's one of those things. Again, there's always, a flip side to it. I know that if you are in certain states, for example, that have around magazine capacity, that they do have the magazine compliant, magazines. I'm sorry, state compliant magazines. So yeah, so when it comes to that, nobody said you couldn't have more than one magazine. So there's always usually a way that we can get around some things. So until we can get that change and overturned, we just got to do what we got to do and have an extra magazine on hand. Then, boom, you got 20 rounds. So, and if you're at the range practicing enough, then you'll feel comfortable switching out that magazine and keep shooting if need. But hopefully, nobody's in a shootout like that. I hope that no one has to actually, be in a situation like that. So I know recently also there was a case in California where a nice quiet neighborhood where people crime nothing normally happens. It's quiet, a nice neighborhood in California. And some guys, three guys approached this guy's home and tried to break in, or they did break in, and the guy was able to pull out his pistol and defend himself with it. Thank goodness. He was good enough aim that he actually didn't miss, not he got one of them at least, and the other two ran. But in that type of situation, you guys have to put that in perspective. Had it been three guys with a firearm, and this man only had 10 round magazine, which I know California has that rule, that means he only had 10 shots in that one gun. In that case, an AR might have been a good option if he had multiple people coming to attack him. So thinking about it in that perspective, because the one thing is the criminals, they don't believe in the law. They don't care. They already breaking the law by breaking the entry. So that's one of those things where even the playing field in that case. All right, so okay, let's see. Why anyone need two mags? What type of trouble you looking for? I mean, I have to agree with that statement. I hear you, but you need it just in case. Like I just expressed, you could have three people trying to break into your home at once. And with your adrenaline rushing, you may not be as accurate as you are at the range. And then you have moving targets as well. How let's go to the range and practice with moving targets? That's a legit question. Do practice with moving targets? That is a legit question. Let me know in the chat box area. Does anybody practice with moving targets? All right. And then someone else said, same person actually. Egg Hill said, like, really, I have 8 shots. If there's more that's needed, I should have to stay home. And that's true. I hear you about that. You're definitely in the wrong zip code if you need to carry around a whole bunch of rounds, right? I hear you. But at the end of the day, that is someone's livelihood. That is someone's livelihood that they're in a high crime area. And so they want to protect themselves while they're out and about. So that's just the daily life of some of us. And fortunately, that's what it is. But then also thinking about those 8 shots being at home, again, multiple intruders. What you gonna do if you missed? You gotta have some backup rounds, right? So each case you may have something different that's needed. Okay. All right. So, oh, I hear you, Michael. I hear you about the mag. All right. So let's look at this poll here. Let's see. Got enough people that said something. I just want to see what you guys thought. And all right, so 52% said armor light rifle and 47 said automatic rifle. Good job, you guys. Good job. So definitely, you guys, a majority of you guys are correct that it is armor light rifle. So just to give you guys a little understanding about that AR-15, what's the name of it? Why did it come to be? So Armor Light Rifle is the manufacturing company that originally made AR-15. Okay, and it's actually the 15th model that they had, and this happened way back 1970. And then next thing you know, they said, okay, Colt in 1979, they sold it to Colt. So Colt actually the first person outside of the manufacturing company to produce and have them, okay? And so they went on ahead and sold that to the military. And that's how it became the M16. Okay, so M16s are basically our AR-15, but we do have a little bit of difference, and I'm going to get down into that in just a moment. But just so you guys can put that in perspective there, it was the pattern was sold to the military. So our military began having the M16, and that's what they use. And years later down the line, the patent was available for all these different companies to make it. So now you have different manufacturing companies that are building the AR-15, but it's the same design, just different name, really. Okay, so coming back to the M16. So when we talk about banning the AR-15, a lot of times you hear this word of a military gun, and I think somebody in the comments already said something about a military gun. Um, the AR-15 has a little difference between the M16. Okay, so the big difference actually is that the M16 is actually designed to be an automatic rifle. That's the reason why that AR doesn't stand for automatic rifle. Just so you guys know, it's Armor Light Rifle. That's the manufacturing company, but it is an actual automatic rifle when it's an M16, a military issued firearm. The civilian version was altered to make sure that it's not going to be an automatic rifle. And just so you guys will understand what that is, in case anyone here in the chat box doesn't know already, our automatic is when we squeeze the trigger, multiple rounds come out at once. Your right? And when it comes to the semi-automatic, which our AR-15, our standard issue AR-15 for civilians, is a semi-automatic. So one squeeze of the trigger actually makes one come out at once. So just so you guys can know, like James said, you can Google it. Thank you so much. And then, oh, you got a Springfield AR. But that's nice. Army guns are fully auto. That is correct. Woman 23, definitely correct on that. All right, so now we are on the same page with the AR-15 and the M16. Let's move on to back to our statistics. So I'm looking at the statistical data on those sites I mentioned, the Mother Jones data and the Gun Balance Archives, and I did pull something from from Gun Balance Archives website. I found this really interesting. Mass shootings accounted for less than 2% of gun deaths in 2022. I'm going to repeat that. Coming from this statistical data, mass shootings accounted for less than 2% of gun deaths in 2022. Of course, they're still working on data for 2023. They do have some statistical data out there. Sorry, got a little tongue tied. But it's one of those things where you guys can always take a look at those two sites. I really like the way that they have everything broken down. You can see the difference between, you know, homicide, suicide, child, teen. You can see the difference between all these categories. And so that was really interesting fact that came from that site. And I was like, wow, mind blown. Because if you listen to our media, you would seriously believe that every freaking mass comes from uh, some sort of AR. Okay. That's just, that's not really correct. And it's really sad that we're swayed in that direction here. Okay, so I got another thing to ask you guys, and I wonder, what do you think? All right, so I'm gonna put this in a poll here. How many people do you think is okay? How many people does it take for a mass shooting? Don't answer that question in the chat. I'm gonna put it in the poll. All right, bear with me, you guys. I'm just still figuring this thing out, and I'm doing okay, but gotta catch up a little bit. All right, almost done here. All right, so yeah, we hear this term mass shooting all the time. So I'm just curious if you guys even know what the definition of a mass shooting is. How many people does it take for it to be considered a mass shooting? So that's one of those questions I put in the poll. So go ahead and take time to go ahead and answer that. I'm just curious what you guys think. Okay, so Brian said all we need is love. I definitely second that. Definitely second that. That is actually one of the reasons why I'm here today, because I want to spread love. I want us to come together as a community, though we do have differences, to be able to discuss these things in a respectful way and come up with some solutions that's going to help us with our communities. And it starts right in our home. Educate your children, you guys. Please educate your children. And I understand that our education is going to be a bit biased, but please instill in them some good values. So, all right, so definitely, let's see. James said guns not bad. The news is Ah, that's definitely a good conversation right there because the news could be a little bit negative. I must admit that. So I'm always excited if I turn on the news and see a happy story. It doesn't matter what the happy story is, just something that, somebody helping somebody. I read something the other day where it was on Facebook. There was a post about a young lady being very upset because she lost her wallet on the bus, and she got home and she told her dad about it. Her dad's trying to console her. And a few minutes later, she gets a knock on the door. And it's guy, this young man, didn't know, who he was, but the father gets the door and talks to the young man, and he expressed that he's looking for the lady. And so obviously the dad's a protector. He's like, "What you want with my daughter, right?" Guy explains he found the wallet on the bus, and he looked in there and seen her ID and able to bring the wallet to the address that was on the card. So there are some good people out there. I was so excited to hear that story because that's something you don't hear and see every day. So I always want to, make sure that you guys still know there are still good people out there. We have a lot of bad things that happen, but there are still good people out there. All right, so coming back to our discussion, I see you guys are putting in the chat for that poll. I'm going to let that poll run just a little bit longer. A couple more people want to jump in and answer that. Great, I really appreciate that. So it'd be better for more of a discussion there, because honestly, that mass shooting thing is something that we hear all the time. So I just want to make sure you guys know that. All right, so going back to our M16 and our AR-15, the one thing that differentiates the two is that one, the AR-15 is an automatic. I'm sorry, is a semi-automatic, and now M16 is an automatic rifle. Okay, for those anybody who may have just joined, just to be clear, that automatic rifle, the military issue M16, is something that has those where you squeeze and you have multiple rounds. For those civilians, AR-15 is a semi-automatic. You squeeze the trigger, only one round comes out at once, so it only shoots as fast as you squeeze the trigger, basically. Okay. Now, I brought that back up because also compare something, because people are always kind of like, well, citizens don't need the same thing that the military has. Okay, so a lot of people do believe that. And if you do believe that, let's think about this. Put this really in perspective. The military and the police also have Sig Sauer. They also have Glock pistols, semi automatic pistols that the everyday civilians have as well. So, what's the difference with that? Let's really put that in perspective. Okay? And the thing is, it's just because, and we have this situation here. I don't know about other places. I don't live other places in the world, but I can tell you here in the United States, we deal with a lot of racism, unfortunately. And when we call for the police to come and help us, sometimes, if you're a person of color, sometimes you end up being the victim. So it's one of those things where it's sad but true. And so we do have to make sure that we protect ourselves, because it's really hard to say if calling for help going to yield us getting actual help or it's going to be our demise. So it's one of those things. All right. So DME Renovation said we don't need Mercedes. So help me understand where you're going with this. I'm assuming you're saying that we don't need, foreign made things. We need American made things. What's your argument with that? Just want to be clear on that, DMV renovations. Just want to be clear. Okay. So one of the things that was also really intriguing to me is that the U.S. Surgeon General declared gun violence as a public health crisis. Whew, that was just like, wow. So again, I'm looking at the statistical data on these websites, and I'm like, wow, the crime rates are really kind of crazy. But they do it in a lump sum. They say firearm violence, and if you were on the last live, then you probably already understand that most of the gun violence. First of all, gun violence means anything that someone's using a firearm as a way of would be considered gun violence. Because in my mind, I thought gun violence would be just simply homicide, but it does also include suicide and accidental deaths. So when it comes to those breakdowns, if you're on the last live, then you probably already know that suicides was the highest in that category. So, and it's really, really amazing looking at that statistical data. So I do recommend you guys take a look at that. But just thinking about that and putting that in perspective, the fact that the U.S. Surgeon General declared something like that speaks volumes to how he believes that we have this problem here in America, and how, the politicians want to step in and kind of put the gun control. Okay. And I'm saying gun control because we all understand the word control. Some of us like this word and some of us don't. We really want the government controlling our Second Amendment rights. That is the question we really have to answer to ourselves. So this is why we have to have discussions. Okay. All right, so let's see what this poll say here. Okay, everybody got their answer in for that poll? If you haven't, go ahead. I'm gonna give you a few more seconds while I look at these comments here. All right, so someone said we don't need chains, but we do. Okay, so I guess some people need chains, and some people don't. I hear you. I hear you. Oh, when it comes to necklaces, got you. Jewelry, yes, you're right. We don't need chains and stuff, but some people do have it. That's facts. And some people, believe in having those Mercedes, but we don't have to have that. Okay, so all right, just thinking about it here. And then DMV Renovations is saying we get things we like. You a car for 30K, but some people spend 70K. Oh, that is a valuable fact. Valuable fact right there. So yeah, we do a lot of things to get what we consider to be the nicer things, okay? It's one of those things, even in the gun community, there's guns that are, a decent gun for like 400, and then there's some guns that's like 1,000, 2,000. So it's one of those things where it's about, what it is that you want as an individual and what it is that you feel like you can afford. But don't live amongst your means there. Like if your pockets say you can't handle a 70K car, I get it. You should definitely stick with a 30K car. I get it. Definitely facts. And the same with guns too. If your pockets say you can't buy that $1,000 1911, just go ahead and stick with that, 500, Smith and Western. I get it. Definitely one of those things you should definitely do. So that is definitely makes us America, the fact that we have so many options. I was looking at also something talking about people moving to Africa from America. Okay. And there's this big movement about that a couple of years ago. And that was one of the biggest complaints because they were born and raised in America, then they went to Africa, got citizenship, and lived there. And sometimes those people were disappointed because they didn't have very many options. Something so simple as buying furniture, you might get 3 stores that you can choose from, or maybe just one. But in America, think about how many stores you personally can choose to go and buy furniture to furnish your house. So it's just certain things like that that we wouldn't be accustomed to and adjusted to live somewhere else. So yeah, that's what makes us America, I guess, right? All right, so let's see. Mad Woman said, I tell people like that, if you don't like it, outlaws, get out. Well said. Well said. This is America for sure. And so she said, I don't agree with everything, but I love this country. Facts. Definitely. Okay. And I see Go Glock said the same thing. Uh, yeah, definitely is one of those. I hear you on that. So I'm going to go to this poll real quick. Let's see. I'm going to shut it down. All right. Go ahead and end it here. Oh, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So it looks like we have some people for the poll said that it was the number of people that has been unalived in a mass shooting is 10. Most people said that. Some people said 5, and very little of us said 4. Well, the honest answer is 4. Mind blown. I know. Answer is 4. Google it. You will see the term mass shooting is pertaining to 4 or more casualties of firearm altercation. Yep. So, with that being said, a little bit more perspective into when we get those media that talks about, oh, there was a mass shooting here, there was a mass shooting there, and you immediately think so many people. I mean, I was one of those people who thought mass shooting meant like 20 people. It had to be like 20 people. It couldn't be 4. I was completely astonished to learn that number. Okay. So this is some of the things that the media is actually portraying to us. Okay. And then we also get another special little area with outside of our media, outside of our news broadcasting or any social media platforms. Outside of that, we are heavily influenced by Hollywood. The way Hollywood portrays the AR-15. Think about visually what you're when you're looking at movies and how you see that AR-15 used. Is either the military or some sort of mass shooter. That's usually the only two. And so when it comes to this, or the bad guy in the movie, right? So that's the only way we're really seeing that AR-15 being used in Hollywood. I mean, if you're anything like me, a big movie buff, that's all you see. So it definitely has some effect in shaping our minds about AR-15. But let's put this on a positive note that AR-15 can also be used for hunting. Also, excuse me, also can be used for other type of sports, and also could be used for self-defense, especially when you have property. If you don't have like a large land, acres of land and whatnot, I can see how an AR-15 may not be the choice of home defense for you, because maybe you live in an apartment, maybe you live in a condo, maybe you live in townhouse or row house, and so you have people living really close to you. But if you live where you have quite a bit of land, then AR-15 might be a really good option. It should be a really good option for you. All right, so let's go to these comments here. Right, so Dirty NGR did, that's the problem. Too many choices to spend instead of prioritizing other things that are real. And that is facts, definitely facts. Oh, we get distracted so much. Our social media and everything. So you see friends and family post different things, and you do this little thing where you want to keep with everybody else. You see everybody else going to this place on vacation. It's like, oh, I want to go to this place too. But can you really afford to do this at that time? You see somebody with cute shoes on, or like a new pair of kicks, and it's like, okay, I have those too. You go out and you spurge your $200 or $300 on these tennis shoes, but really you need to pay a bill. So we have to make our decisions. Make some decisions. All right. So Michael said we got issues, but we better than most places. Okay, okay. And I think I would agree with that statement. You were better in most places for different reasons. When you go around the world and you travel, you'll see that there are different places doing things very differently. You have some places that care a lot about their people, and so they focus a lot on their food and their water, making sure it's healthy and that it's natural and things like that. You go to other places and really focus on protection, making sure everything is safe, so that people can actually just, men can walk, go to the store, at 1 o'clock in the morning, pitch black, and she's safe. So those are some things where each country has their things that they really focus on. And in America, we got some work to do. And I'm pretty sure those other places have things that they need to work on too. But that's just to kind of point that out there. All right, so let's see. One said, only because we keep our foot on the rest of the world's neck. Okay, okay. I mean, our country was founded off it, okay? So let's not get it twisted, okay? So we can't be naive to that. All right, so you make a valid point there. All right, so we help other places more than we our own. Ooh, that's a really good topic, Mike. Really good topic there. You're right about that. We pour money and time and military um, resources into other countries all the time. I mean, it's happening right now as we speak. And so, yeah, that kind of makes us a little bit different there, okay? But we got to have our allies, because, if there's a world war, we need to have some allies. So there's a reason behind that. We have to make sure that we do. And I understand the frustration with saying, oh, we're sending money overseas, or we're sending our military people over to this place and that place to help them when we need help right here. I feel like we're always going to need help right here. I mean, because we're people. Things happen, things change, right? But we do have to establish and keep those allies, because if we don't, and hits the fan and we have a world war, we need somebody to help and protect us. We're not the biggest place. We're definitely not. There's a whole lot of other places is way bigger than us, and that does have more manpower than us. But if we have allies, that really helps. So, all right, let's see. Heckler said, I'm a Mexican. I love Mexico, but this place is my home and I have guns. I hear you, Heckler. Thank you so much for that. Definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all have, things that we like about here. But I think we do all, the ones that are on this page here that is from United States, can definitely agree that it's a great place to live overall. We have a lot of different rights, such as our Second Amendment right, that's going to really help us be able to protect ourselves, which is a right that a lot of places don't have. And then even me being on this platform right now speaks volumes. Okay, the fact that I can talk to you guys about women empowerment, there's places in the world that I would not be able to do that. And so I really appreciate being here too, for many reasons. All right, so let's see. Giving fish is not teaching to fish, is to help. Oh, I hear you on that. Okay. And then Michael said, America, we make cone fish for all. Okay, that's true. That's true. And growing the definitely you're right, Michael, and that growing the meat. Yeah, I mean, honestly, let's be real, not enough chicken. Is it really? Is it really enough chicken? What we gonna do? People love chicken. What we gonna do with it? I mean, honestly. All right, so let's see. So we're gonna wrap this conversation up, but I do have a couple of more questions to ask you guys because I came across some things. So I do want to ask you guys, how many deaths do you think is considered a murder or killing spree? Okay, so your choices are six, two, or eight. Okay, what do you guys think is a killing spree? So it's a six, two, or eight. So go ahead and put that in the chat box area. I was looking at definitions on these websites, and I came across that term, a murder or killing spree, and they was like, oh, it's either six, two, or I'm like, that's very interesting. You hear this term as well in the media with somebody who's on a killing spree, and so it's one of those things. All right, so some people said eight, eight. Okay, okay. All right, I'll let that play out for a little bit. Okay. And then I also have another question for you guys. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and give that answer before I give you another answer. I came across some other information. I said, that's also interesting. All right, so during the course of this initial ban that happened in 1994 and the year 2004, a lot of the data tells us that during that time that shooting or gun violence was at a low, okay? That it was going decline. And then when 2004 happened and then the ban was lifted, that, gun violence went up. And so, really trying to find that data to say that AR-15 was incorporated in this a lot, it really wasn't. Again, I just told you guys 2% of the gun violence that we had in 2022 was as a result of actually the R-15. So it's one of those things that makes you kind of mind go, because you hear these politicians spinning these narratives and saying these things, but sometimes it's just like, a little stretch of the truth. Sometimes it's not necessarily a lie, but maybe a stretch of the truth. All right. So when it comes to whether or not the killing spree is actually six, six is the number. So I was like, wow. Again, when you hear that a spree, I think so many, I think beyond the eight. So yeah, but it was six. I was like, wow, okay, interesting. All right, so my next question to you guys is does a 223 or 556 MO explode when it hits the body? So I'm just curious, what do you guys think about that? So the question is, does the 223 or the 556 MO explode when it hits the body? So apparently there are some people out there who believe that this is a true thing. So you guys can say yes or no to that. Do you believe that 223 or 556 MO explodes when it hits the body? So it's one of those perspectives that you guys kind of got to know your ballistics, right? To really know that answer, but just give it a shot. Do you believe it does? Yes. Or you believe it does not? No. So it's one of those things where I was finding that was an interesting thought process, especially for those who actually don't own ARs. They thought heavily one way. All right. So somebody said, "What would y'all do when a bullets run out of hands on his on his hard work?" Okay, okay. Mm. All right. So somebody said yes to the answer of whether or not the ammo explodes when it hits the body. So come on, some more. Give me some more answers. Yes or no? Do you guys think it explodes? I'm just really curious of what you guys think because I said, "Wow, this was mind-boggling that people actually think this." Good for you to say, "I don't know." Okay, okay. So it seems like a lot of people don't know, and that's why they're not really answering. So I'm going to go ahead and spit that answer out for you guys. They actually know the round itself does not explode. It could fragment if it hits a bone, but it does not explode. So it works the same as any other round does. It hits the body, it goes through, or it stays in. That's going through. 223, 556, that's going through. But it's one of those things is a heavily misconception thing because of how much damage it actually does to the body. People immediately believe that it does explode, but it does not explode. It just hits the body. Sometimes the fragment may come off if it hits a bone. So just data for you guys to take, some trivia for you guys to have learned. All right, so we do have great some more discussions that's coming up with you guys soon, and I do have I just want to know, what did you guys ultimately feel to vote yes or no? Should we ban the AR from the U.S.? I'm just curious. Wrapping this conversation up, I've given you guys some information, and I kind of, told you this way and that way. And I'm just really curious, as my viewers, what do you guys think? Do you guys believe that the AR-15 can? Okay, so someone said no. Okay. Then I have somebody answered to my concern about it exploding in the body, said that it starts a little fire in the body. Yeah, I mean, I would agree a little bit with that, a little bit. Okay, it definitely is some hot lead. It's all right. So get some votes here. The AR-15 should be banned or not? Yes or no? That's the question. And I can totally see how someone actually is a 2A supporter, but still agrees that it should be banned. And I do agree, totally the other. I understand why someone would say that AR-15 should not be banned. Although we have mass shootings, that incorporates AR-15, please keep in mind perspective. Although one life is too many, let's go ahead and put that out there. One life is too many, but we do have to put this in perspective that AR-15 is really not used in mass shootings as much as we might think it is. It's actually rarely used, actually. So, and also another thing we have to understand is a lot of times when it is a matching with an AR-15, a lot of times is with someone who purchased it illegally. Do you guys really think that if they take the AR-15s off the general market, they're available in the black market for people to buy? I mean, if I'm a criminal, I would definitely totally want to buy a gun illegally versus buying it legally anyway. So that's just, putting some more information out there for you guys. So it's looking like I got a lot of no's. I have a few yes for people who believe that it should be banned. Okay. And like I said, we respect everybody's thought processes here, and everybody's respected, or your view or your point. And I'm sure you have your reasons, and for good reasons at that. All right. So a lot of people said no. And one person even took it further to say, but more training. Definitely agreed on that. We always need more training. Not because I want to collect money. Of course, that's not the case. It might be true because it's my profession, but I definitely want to make sure that you guys are being safe. No need to own something and you don't know how to properly use it. So definitely take the time to get to the range and get some practice. Definitely. All right. And then also, yeah, you got to get some training to buy it, even. I hear about that. Okay, definitely. When it comes to buying firearms, that's a whole nother field. It's like buying a car, right? You go into this, it's like, oh, it's so many. I don't know what to choose from. So definitely get with your local trainers and get some tips and understanding on what to buy, and how to buy, and where you should buy, and things like that. Because it definitely can feel a little bit overwhelming, especially for your first purchase. But my best advice is to go to a range that actually rent something that's similar or the same one that you want to buy, and that way you can get some practice with it first and be familiar with it. All right, so you guys tonight with this information, please take notice in the fact that we as a community, we got to do better to help each other. We got to look out for one another, and we got to protect that Second Amendment right as well, because we definitely understand that sometimes it causes for us to be our first line of defense, and we may not be able to rely on that backup. Our military, our police, our government, to come and save us in that moment. We have to be our first line of defense. So this is, big at heart for us to protect that Second Amendment. But at the same token, we're saying this, we all have to be responsible and making sure that we keep our firearms locked up safely, that we also teach our children a lot of times about safety. We don't put that part into it. But safety also has to extend to our children. We have to make sure that we educate our kids about firearm safety and awareness. Not saying you got to go out and take your kids shooting. It would be great if you did, so that they know how to use it when they're of age, when you're ready. But at least have that conversation of safety so you can keep them safe, that they don't make any decisions when you're not around, and which you can't always be around. So we definitely have to give them that responsibility, which they already had, to make good choices, give them knowledge towards making good choices. So in our next week discussion, we're going to discuss something really cool and interesting. I'm working on a few other topics, so I want to ask you guys opinion. You guys have topics that you would like me to discuss, that would be really helpful for me to know. I am creating more content for this. One of the things I definitely want to talk about is definitely speaking to a lawyer. We're going to do that. I'm coordinated in the date. And I also want to make sure that we have time to talk about and discuss whether or not you think you should have a firearm on the job. And that's, it depends on the job, of course. I'm speaking of somebody specifically, like maybe a realtor officer or something. Somebody who works in realty, being able to sell property, going into these properties by themselves with strangers, particularly women. That might be, a topic for discussion there. So let me know if there's anything else that you guys want to discuss, and I'll do my best to try to incorporate that into our platform here. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. It has been really awesome having you guys once again, and I love the comments, the communication that you guys have. Keep it coming. I really appreciate that. I'm working really hard to get some more content out. Got some more long content coming out for you guys. I'm just getting through with some editing here, and some more really cool women to highlight their success and their journey. And they're going to be teaching us a lot of things along the way. So definitely stay tuned to that. Okay. I'm going to stick around for a minute. If anybody has any other questions, or if you would like to drop in, a suggestion for some more topics for our Friday night discussions, please do so. Let me know what you think. And I know one of the discussions I want to talk about is defunding. Is that actually a good idea, or is it not? So I know we're going to talk about that too. Because when it comes to that, there's a lot to discuss. Some people strongly feel that we should, and some people feel like we should not. So we definitely need to explore that a little bit more. All right. So thank you guys so much. You don't have any more questions. We're going to go ahead and end this tonight. And I really appreciate you guys once again. I have a great and blessed night. Definitely. Yeah. DMV renovations is definitely touchy about our police. It's one of those things that really keep at night. I know. You're welcome. You're welcome. Definitely. I appreciate you, Michael, joining in again. DMV Renovations, Heckler, I appreciate you guys. Global Glock 45, I appreciate you. Meta 101, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, everybody. Mike Hector, okay. Let's see, Dirty and MGR. If your Unity not nothing but AIs, no matter how many guns there are. Good decision, good there. That makes a lot of sense. The AR, I mean, the AI is definitely a discussion that is affecting everything. All right. Well, you guys have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off now. Looks like everybody already said what they had to say. Y'all enjoy. See you guys next time.